This is all about national interest versus state and self-interest, old-fashioned parochialism at play here. I suppose you could say across the country right now. Queensland and Western Australia are desperate to make sure their borders remain intact. Scott Morrison desperate to make sure he can get this idea of a clear definition of a hotspot through this national cabinet. But that appears to be shot down before it's even going to be suggested. Scott Morrison knows his hands are tied. Both these state leaders are incredibly popular at the moment and things are unlikely to change. We'll bring up the graphic and give the viewers a better idea of what is going to be discussed, as we always do. The hotspot definition will be top of the agenda, with the Prime Minister pushing for that to be put through National Cabinet. Then you also have the agricultural code discussion. West Australia is critically opposed to that. We'll come back to that discussion. Then there'll be the COVID health update, the economic update and the high-risk weather briefing. Now, Pete, you might remember 2 weeks ago, Scott Morrison said that he was going to task all of the agriculture ministers effectively across the country with coming up with a clear definition, effectively allowing farmers to transit back and forwards across state borders. West Australia is now making very clear they won't let that happen. Let's have a listen to Mark McGowan yesterday.
We're not going to agree to bring down the borders. I've made that plain to the Prime Minister. We're not going to agree. Hotspots doesn't work. It's not as effective, I'll put it that way. Hotspots is not as effective. Bringing out the borders won't work. In the West Australian context, our measures have been successful.
Yeah, Pete, how quickly we've gone from being all in this together. Now, Scott Morrison yesterday at Parliament, we basically revealed just how frustrated he is.
Australia was not meant to be closed. Australia was meant to be open, Mr Speaker. Australians want to see Australia become open, as the founding members, Mr Speaker, of this place ensured it was from the outset, and Australia must become whole again, Mr Speaker. This is the way. That's what success looks like. We need to come together. We need to ensure that we are clear with Australians that we will seek to make Australia whole again by Christmas this year.
Yeah, Pete, just finally, the great power play here is the fiscal imbalance. The states put out their hands and they ask for financial help to prop up their struggling businesses, but they keep the borders closed. Yeah. The government knows that it's only got so much money to give them. It's got dire financial problems. So who wins? Scott Morrison knows he can't win at this stage, with the premiers both so popular at the moment and heading towards an election. He doesn't want to keep his mouth shut, but he knows it's basically what he has to do.
Yep.